Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of the Team Talk Finish and Touch podcast. Today I'm joined by Ben Punter, our co-host, and we have a very special guest, Daniel Church, with us today. How are we doing, Daniel? All right?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for getting me on.
Not a problem. Pleasure, Ben. How you doing?
Good, mate. Good.
All
Glad
right.
to be here.
Buzzing to get Daniel on, eh?
Absolutely. Just anybody who just to do is. Honestly, can't I wait for just guests to do more talking than me and you usually do.
Right, Daniel, just a wee chat today, just about your kind of career today. We'll start kind of with Boys Club and then move on to Celtic and East Fife and Dumbarton and stuff like that. So start us off, mate. How did you get picked up? What boys club were you playing at, and kind of what age were you? Things like that.
So I was at Cumbernauld United. We trained at Hat Tricks, just in the big kind of cage thing,
right?
The small pitch. But I was 4 actually when I started joining. So I played for the team, the 1999s it was. I joined at first because there wasn't a team my age. So they were all 5 and I was 4, just training with them, just basic, just like touches of the ball and stuff like that. And then I think we started playing games in there maybe every Saturday and stuff, just like we kickabouts and stuff. Then obviously the year after was when everyone my age were 5, so they would kind of start as well. So I joined. That's when I dropped down, joined with them. But like I'd play, so they both played on a Saturday. So like the 1999s would play, and then the 2000s were like playing at the wee 5-a-side pitches just at the back. So they would be playing there. So I'd play for the 99s, and then I'd finish that and dive over and play for the 2000s. But obviously at that age, I mean, you had all the energy in the world. You could run about for whatever. So I'd play with them, and then obviously just went up through the years with there. All the wee, I think it was the tournaments in the summer and stuff where the scouts and stuff would come watch, like your summer tournaments at like Hamilton Palace, and the big ones where kind of most of the good teams and stuff were in. The one at Ravenswood and stuff like that. So they were always the ones that you'd always see, kind of the big jackets with the badges and stuff kicking about and that. So I remember I got picked up by Celtic, was in the Hamilton Palace tournament. We were playing Scotland Boys Club in a final, and Scotland Boys Club were always like brilliant at our age. They had like, I remember their team even still now, like Jadon who's at Ayr, who's at Rangers and stuff like that. Boys, all of them went like pro youth. They always had a good team, and we're playing them in a final and scored a free kick to make it 1 each. And then it went to penalties, and I remember I was like, I'll take the first penalty. And I remember I missed it, and I started crying in that, and I was like, nah. And it was Josh Ray actually that was the goalkeeper who plays up your head now. Right. And I remember my coach came over, was like, nah, it's all right. Like he'll save a few in that. And I was just like, I've never hit a penalty since. I promise you, I've never hit a penalty since that. I remember I've just had the fear ever since that's happened. I've never ever took a penalty since about under whatever, since I was about 6 or 7. And so the coach was like, nah, he'll save a few in that. And Josh, obviously, I mean, he was tall at that age as well, and they wee goals and stuff. So he saved 2, we won it. And then, but I was still, they were all buzzing in that. I was still gutted to my dad and that, but nah, that's penalty, I've missed it and stuff like that. But then he came over and said, like, obviously, because cheering me up, he said, like, obviously, Celtic's been watching you that day and stuff, and they want you going training. But at that point, I was in like, so Monday would be like, I'd been training with Hearts. Tuesday would be like Cumbernauld United training. Wednesday would be like Hibs. Thursday, like Aberdeen, I think I trained with. And then obviously, so it's trying to just fit everything in. Like it was mental. But at that point, obviously, you don't need to commit to a team. It's just a case of you train with whoever you want, and comes a point, obviously, I can't remember what age, maybe like 9, where you need to like commit to a team and like you can, that's it. So it was a case of decide then, and I obviously went for Celtic, and that was that.
Brilliant, mate. So is Josh Ray responsible for your career then? Is that what you're saying?
He's telling me. To be fair, nah, our team was good, to be fair. And I just remember, even when penalty shootouts came out, I remember last year we were playing in the Carmel Wafer Cup with Celtic, where I think we played Queen's Park in the first game, and it went to penalties there, and it was going down. I think it went to sudden death or something, and I was looking along the line. I'm not even what I like. All I could think about was that Cumbernauld United Hamilton Palace tournament, and I was like, nah, I'm not hitting this because this is what's in my head. I'm not even kidding. I've never ever like took one since, because that was just all I can think about. It's just put me off.
You're trying to put the goalie in front of you to hit a penalty. Like, no, mate, on you go.
No, definitely. I said, like, it's everyone. I can go like 10th or 11th, whatever. I'm not hitting one. No way.
So as you said there, like you were training with in Hearts and Hibs, Aberdeen and stuff. Was it always Celtic that you wanted to play? Obviously, you're a Celtic fan, but was there any ever a thought of going anywhere else, or did any of the teams kind of make an approach for you that?
Yeah, so I remember Hearts were the first ones that kind of were like really, really keen on me going. I remember I was in training with them, and it was a wee boy, Tommy, actually. A coach, Tommy. He works with Alwa now, I'm sure, and he was proper keen on getting me. And he was saying, like, I think they were sponsored by Umbro at the time, and he was saying to my dad, like, oh, you can come in and he'll get like Umbro boots, and like we'll guarantee that he'll. And I remember I was like 9 or something at the time. They were like, yeah, you go full time and all this. And obviously I was nine years old, so I'm thinking, oh, this is brilliant. So this was the first team that's actually like asked me to do it. And so I was like to my dad, like just rushing into it. No, let's do it. Let's go. I want to go. Like, because it was the first team obviously that had offered me anything. And my dad was like, nah, just wait off and we'll see that kind of if anything else comes out. And I was like, no, I want to go. Like, I want to go to Hearts and that. And then obviously, I mean, he knew better than me, so he probably knew that obviously I was doing all right at Celtic and stuff as well, so it might be a chance there. So luckily I held off, and then Celtic a couple of weeks later said that they wanted me, so then obviously I took that.
So I take it, were your mum and dad always as supportive because they knew how many teams that you were training with? Were they always kind of confident that you would get somewhere to where you are now, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, they did sacrifice a lot taking me, because obviously training with different teams every week, like Hearts, obviously training in Edinburgh, Celtic were at Barrowfield, or actually it was at Hamilton Palace at first, because it was little like development centres and stuff before you actually went in. So it was obviously they're finishing their work, and then it's a case of getting me for school, getting me food, and then taking me to all these like kind of different teams. So they did, the support obviously was there, and it did help, because obviously I wouldn't be able to get to these places if it wasn't for them stuff. But yeah, they were behind me, and I think they obviously, I mean, at 9 years old, you just want to dive into stuff and just go for it and stuff. But I think they obviously guided me a bit better and said, like, nah, hold off and kind of see what opportunities come in the next wee while and then decide. And obviously, Celtic came about, so being a Celtic fan as well, I was just dying to, as soon as that came about, like, I was, I'm definitely going.
That sounds about right, doesn't
it? How long were you training with Celtic then before they made their move and offered you something? How long?
You know, I think it was maybe a couple of months. I remember I used to cry every time I went in there. I genuinely don't know why. I thought I should be going and buzzing, but I think it was just because I hated like being in a changing room like with like all these like new people and like people I didn't know, and it was pure like daunting, because they had all really been like training together for a couple of weeks, so they all knew each other and stuff, and I was coming in as like the new guy. So I remember I generally have like kind of small memories, like being in, I'd go in with get a wee look at the machine, and I'd pure like hide, kind of stand in the corner. I was like, I don't really want to pure come in there. My dad would be like, nah, just go and stuff. And then once I got in, obviously it was fine. It was just a case of putting myself into new situations and stuff. But like I think I was in there for, like a couple of months, and then they would do like every month they would do like, so each development centre would play against each other. So like your Hamilton Palace team would play against like the Edinburgh team, so we'd all meet up at like a central place, and it would be like a tournament. So we'd get the opportunity for like the bigger coaches to have a look at everyone who's all like at these old development centres, and they would basically, when it comes to time at like under 10s, you need to like commit to a team. So they would only be like maybe 24 boys who would get into the actual team. So they would look over everyone who's playing at round robins and playing against each other, and then decide who do we actually want in these 24 selected places. So it's a case that, although you didn't think you were under pressure then, you're 9 years old or whatever, you're just playing football, but they were obviously looking to be like, right, who are we selecting here? So, and luckily, obviously, I was one of them and got into the team. So now I was buzzing with that.
I've never heard that before, by the way. I've never heard that they've had like different locations.
Yeah.
Soccer, that is the first I've ever heard of that. Like, wait, any club, that's mental.
Yeah, no, that's how, like, even like we had like a core group growing up, like me, Stephen Wells, Jack Aitchison, boys like that. So Jack was at the one in Bathgate. Welsh was in the one with me. So we actually had a good team in ours. Josh Ray was in the one with me as well. So like that's how it all came about. I think there was one in Ayr as well. Just all these different locations that they'd all kind of train, and then as I said, they would come and have that tournament, and that's when they would kind of select who they thought was best. So that it was pretty. There was a lot of boys that were that obviously with Celtic all at the different areas, and then I think that finishes at like under 10s once they pick their team, and it just becomes you're at Barrowfield 2 nights a week after that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that was the next thing. Just about to say, kind of. So when you sign, how often were you in? Was it just 2 nights and then game at the weekend?
Yeah, we actually. So there wasn't like a pro youth thing like that. So we didn't play against like all the other Premier League teams and stuff. We'd play against boys clubs. So I remember we used to play on a Tuesday night, and we'd play. So because obviously we were all good, probably the best players in our boys clubs, so all we put in together one team. So we'd play against teams the year older. So like 1999 boys clubs that were like a good standard, or teams would come over from like different countries and stuff. And we'd play against them. Some of the games were tough. Obviously at that age, a year up is a big difference because they're all a bit more developed and a bit more grown up. So the kind of physical aspect is a bit better, although our football and technical ability is probably better than them. But they would always, I remember like plenty of tough games against good boys clubs. But I think there's one actually we played, is it Gunkirk? I think it was Mikey Johnson was with. And they had a good team. Kieran Wright was there as well, who plays with Partick on loan for Rangers.
I know a couple of the boys that they're from Moodiesburn. Like see,
are they?
A lot of the boys that played in that team will be from Moodiesburn. I know about that.
Yeah. And we played them, and I remember I remember that game sticks out. I think they were beating us like 3-0 in like 20 minutes or something, and it ended up like 6 or 7-3 to us. But like I remember Mikey was in training with Celtic at the time as well, so I kind of recognised him. But we used to play boys clubs every week, and it would always be like really good games, and that's how our team kind of, because we weren't able to play against other like pro youths at the time, so that's the only games we'd really get.
Magic, mate, magic. See, you mentioned a wee bit there, like you're nervous kind of when you were going into training and stuff. What was that like? Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you're in Celtic for a certain amount of time, you then moved school, didn't you? You went to St Ninians.
Yeah.
How was that? Kind of being the new guy in a whole new school again?
That was totally different, to be fair, because like you had a bit of comfort the fact most of the boys from the team was coming with you, so you weren't really on your own as much. You had like even like the boys from Edinburgh, some of them were staying in digs, some of them that are further away and stuff, because I mean we were training at like I used to get picked up just before 7 in the morning. Training would start 7:30, and you train for a bit and then obviously do school, train again after school, so you didn't really feel as much as like the new guy because you had boys there. So in every class I had at school, I maybe had like at least 2 boys from my team. But what it was difficult though is that you didn't just stick to, because you're in school and that's your teammates, you only stick to them. Like you had to obviously branch out and try and make pals with people that were in the school as well. But the impression was that at first when you first went is like everyone kind of looked as if like they're the Celtic boys, like they're not actually part of the school, they're just the Celtic boys, but they go to our school, and so you kind of felt as if you were like separated. So we would all sit together at lunch, we would all go to lunch together, after school we'd be together, and you weren't actually like mixing with, and we always used to get meetings about that as well, like saying, look, you're at this school, everyone's the exact same, you just need to like mix with them, and you can't just like have a wee clique of like Celtic boys, because it'll get it won't work. Do you know what I mean? The kind of partnership they're trying to get won't work. So, but no, I think as you kind of settled in, there was the odd ones that obviously were pure, like, didn't help because they were like, thought they were better than like, in the way they went about things probably weren't great. But like, I mean, I've made many pals for being at that school now, and that I'm still pals with now. So, I think once you get a bit older in that school, you start obviously being familiar with everyone in classes and mixing them in PE, playing football, whatever, then you just make pals. And if it was a bit easier, the transition, because I had the boys with me, do you know what I mean?
How long were you at St Maurice's for then? Because obviously we were the year above you, but how long were you actually at St Maurice's? Because I remember seeing you at school and then almost as if the week later you weren't there.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's just how it felt.
I was just there in first year. Literally, so I went in first year and then it was towards the end of first year when they had the meetings to say like if they wanted you to go to the school project and stuff. So yeah, that was it. Just finished my first year there, which I was actually enjoying it there as well, but I wasn't sure if I'd like it as much, like moving to a different school and stuff. But nah, just first year and then I was away.
Right.
See, when you were kind of first at Celtic, who were your coaches when you were in? Who was taking you?
So whenever we had the Tuesday night games, it was a coach called Martin Miller, and he would just like oversee the whole kind of junior academy. He was brilliant. Everyone, I genuinely don't think you'll meet anyone who could say a bad word about Martin. To be fair, he used to just look after kind of like maybe under 8s to about 16s. Once you start kind of going like full time and stuff like that, he would kind of oversee that. And he used to take all our games on the Tuesday night. He would do like, so for a warm up, we'd do like it would be called the turns. So it'd be like, you've probably heard of them as well. It's like all these kind of famous Celtic players and stuff. Yeah. All the famous Celtic players kind of all had their own turn and stuff. So we'd spend like half an hour at the start of training. You'd just shout out like left foot, Henrik Larsson and all that, and you'd be doing that, right foot, McGeady and all that. And then as time went on, they started getting like little like clickers. So every time they clicked it, it would like 1, 2, 3. So they'd like nominate someone that day for, so say it'd be me and like Jack or something, like they'd have 2 coaches, and every single time in that half an hour doing the turns you touch the ball, they'd click it and you'd see who had the most touches of the ball. So you had that thing of like, if you get, no matter what you're doing, as long as you get like X amount of touches of the ball in that day, you're going to improve your technique because you're constantly on the ball. So they had that clicker, and it was like it would end up like 2,000 and all that within like half an hour because you're just constantly touch. So I feel sorry for the boys who used to just sit there just having to just click this thing for about half an hour. But nah, it was mental. And as a wee guy, obviously, when you hear that, you're just trying to just rapid touch it, just wee flicks and stuff just to get this number up. But there must have been 2 guys just sitting there just like that, with sore fingers, just sitting clicking this thing. But nah, so yeah, Martin was then. And then we used to do a thing as well on a Wednesday. It was called Weak Foot Football. So you would wear a different coloured sock on your weaker foot.
That's right.
Aye, so that everyone knew kind of like what your weaker foot was, and then so it'd be like maybe like a 7-a-side game, and you could only use your weaker foot the full game. And then when he thought you got to a level that your weaker foot was good enough, then you would take that off. So there'd only be like 2 boys that would obviously have it, and I never ever got it away. Never got rid of the sock.
Mate, I was the exact same. I don't actually think I've ever played a pass in a game with my left foot. Terrible.
I think if I was to do that now, I'd have probably 2 socks on or something. Genuinely.
What kind of other coaches did you have apart from Martin Miller? Was there any other coaches that we would know?
Whenever I went to under 15s, I had a coach, John McLaughlin, his name was, and he came from, so he was under 19s coach, and then he came from there to us, and I had him from 15s to 17s, I think, and he was brilliant. He's the best coach generally I had grown up, because he was at that age, obviously you're 14, 15 and stuff like that, but he would just tell you like straight up as if you were 20, 21, whatever. Obviously he came from reserves. The way it was taught. Sometimes some people, I liked it, to be fair, it was good, and you learned quick, because if you done something wrong, he'd tell you. He wouldn't like beat around like that. He'd tell you straight. I remember we were playing Rangers. It was our first game with him, and he was like a massive Celtic fan, and we were playing Rangers away in his first Old Firm with us. And bear in mind, this was still under 15s, and we lost 2-0. at Murray Park, and he put the Rangers team sheet up on a peg, and he also put a Celtic top next to it, and he pointed to the Rangers team sheet and went, "That's the best team in Scotland at our age." And then he went round us and he pointed at every single one of us in our face and was like, "Loser, loser, loser." Every single one of us, just right in our face, "Loser, loser." Every single one of us. He just started caning it. And he was like, and he was like, if we win a game, it's on our terms. So like next morning, obviously we'd play on a Sunday at that point, but the next morning, obviously Monday morning, we'd be back into training. So he's like, if we win, it's on our terms, but if we lose, it's on his terms. So that next morning we're running like 4-4s at 7:30 in the morning, just like belting it, just because obviously it's on his terms. So he decides obviously what we do. But he was. I remember as well. We went to. This was a couple of years later. We went to a tournament in Ireland and we were playing Northern Ireland. And you know, like if you're in tournaments, you'd give them like a little memorial thing or like a friendship, we like shield or like something like that. And we exchanged them at the start. Yeah, and we exchanged them at the start of the game, and we lost the game. And I remember this was a pure weird game because one of the boys forgot his shinnies. He was a centre back. He forgot his shinnies, and then he was like, so we started the game, and he's playing. And 10 minutes in, he's like, "I've not got my shinnies on." So he said to the coach, "Oh, I've not got my shinnies." And the lines was like, "You need to go off to the side and that." And all the subs were like, "I'll run in to get him." He was like, nah, he's coming off. He's not prepared. So he took him off. And then so that was us. You can only use 3 subs in tournaments, obviously. So he took him off. Someone else got a bad injury, actually. I think they done their knee or something. So he came off as well. And then we made another sub. But then after that, 2 boys got injured as well. So we ended up like 9 men. And we were playing against their 11. And so obviously I think they beat us like 3-1 or something like that. But we actually scored and we had 9 men. And then we came in to change them after it, and they got the memorial thing that Northern Ireland gave us, and he like smashed off the floor, and he was like going off his head and that. We were all like, what is going on here? Like, it was mental. And some of the mums and dads would go in and say like, "Nah, this is too much." But he wouldn't change his ways. Like, he'd just go for it. But the boys, like, most of the boys loved it. Like, he was harsh, but like in a good way. Like, I remember we were playing Hibs away as well, and 5 minutes into the game, the striker for our team, I think he missed a chance, or he wasn't playing great or something, and he shouted to him. He was like, "You all right?" And he was like, "Aye." And he's like, "Well, you've got 5 minutes and all that." And he was just going up like that, five minutes and all that. And we're under 15s, and he's telling, in the first 15 minutes of the game, he's telling him he's coming off, and he took him off like 5 minutes later in an under 15s game, and he put him back on late, because obviously at that point you could put boys back on. He put him back on later on in the game. He scored a hat trick. But no, he was ruthless, to be fair. And I had him for the first like three years, from 15s to 17s. But no, he was what a guy. He was brilliant, really good. He used to. So we would have jobs as well. So like, boys would be on the cones, boys would be on the balls, pump up the balls every morning, on the mannequins and stuff like that. And he needed everything set up for training. Everything had to be out like half an hour before training. And remember, one of the boys was tired or came in late or something for training in the morning, and they didn't pump up the balls, and everyone was like, "Oh no!" And I think we might have got beat the before that, and everyone was like, "Nah, what's going on? He's going to flip." And then he was setting up the balls and that, and we were all we were doing a jog on the pitch and we were watching him. And then he like just got the balls, and he just like, and he felt one of them that was flat, and he was like, "Nah, fuck the balls," and just like launched them, started like battering them away, and that. He was like, "Do your own warm up, just do your own session," and that. So me and Welshie just started trying to like get a passing drill going and that. It was mental.
This fucking
but he was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
So good. As
What
obviously
about
I got older though, like I got the chance. I worked with Shaun Maloney for a bit at reserves. That was before he went to Belgium, and he was unreal. Oh, amazing! Like, even in boxes and stuff, when we do like day before a game, he would never ever lose the ball. He'd join in and training and that, and just be brilliant. Damien Duff as well, when he came in after Shaun left, took us for a bit as well, and he was the exact same. Like, you could tell these boys like how good they still had everything that obviously you've seen. and he would talk to you about like games that he played in, like boys he played against, boys he played with, and stuff. And just hearing all that off them was amazing. Like Shaun, like his detail stuff, like obviously he's a winger and stuff, so you wouldn't think he'd care as much about like fullbacks like me or like defenders and that, but he'd take you for like 25 minutes after training, work on like body position, defending, stuff like that. He used to do a thing with the wingers, where he'd just have a mannequin, he'd just make them go up what they weren't like strong in, but make them go up and do a step over and then shoot every time, just constantly for like 20 minutes, keep on doing it. And if you messed up, he didn't care. And then he actually sent one of the boys recently a text, and he said, go watch Lukaku's goal last night or something like that. And the goal was he went up to the player, done a step over and scored. And he said, I've been doing the exact same drill with him as what he's been doing like with us. So it shows, man. I mean, like if he's going to work for them, then it's works for us as well. Do you know what I mean? But that was good to see, and it's good to see obviously the level he's at. But he still takes the time out obviously to message them and be like, "Oh, go watch us," like because he remembers obviously done that with us before. So that was Shaun was brilliant. To be fair, I really liked working with him too. Yeah, it was good.
Magic, mate, magic. What about signing full time with Celtic? When does that come? What age when you signed?
That was 16. Yeah, under 17 is when you go full time. Then like some boys would get expenses. You got the option if you wanted to stay on at school, you could do like I think it was 4 hires, maybe 5, but you would only train. So you'd be in school like maybe like 3 days a week full time, and then you would train 2 days full time with the team. Right. But I was like, there's no like. I just felt as if I'd miss out on so much training. Yeah. If I'm missing 3 days of full time training, they boys are all training, I'm sitting at school. I was like, I could always go back and get education if I need it, like college or whatever. So I was like, definitely go for the full time. Do you know what I mean? Just go for it.
Brilliant. What see like that sort of season building up to signing on? Did the coaches tell you? Did they give you any like inclination whether you're getting kept on, or did they keep it?
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough. So when I was 15, I played 2 years up for a season with the 17s. So they were full time at the time. So like whenever they would play during the day and stuff, so I would get out of school sometimes to go play with them. So I kind of had a feel for like kind of what it was like already. So that team was like Calvin Miller, Regan Henry, who's at Rafe, Ross Doohan, Dan Higgins at Cove, Theo Archibald, who's I think he's playing in England now. That team they had a brilliant team, to be fair, at that age. So I was lucky enough that every left back, both at 17s, both at 16s, all got injured. So like, right, we'll take this wee guy. Do you know what I mean? We'll see what he's like, and I done all right. I think I set up a goal that game actually. Like, we played St Mirren and then we played Rangers the next week. And I remember I was like, it was in the Glasgow Cup or something, and the first time the ball came to me, I went to clear it, and I've just missed the ball completely, like genuinely, like air swiped it, and it just went out the pitch, and I'm like, nah, like this is mental. But no, I played the rest of the season with them there, so I got to kind of have a feel for like what full time would be like, so I knew kind of what was coming. And the next season as well, we played a year up as well with the 17s, and then they basically just maybe like. I think it's like 5 months before, because obviously you need to know like if you're going to go full time or like you need to go find another club and stuff like that. So they'd start having talks, be like, this is what we're thinking and stuff, and there'd be little like negotiations. At that age, there's not really much where we'd change it. It'd be like, this is what we're offering you. It might be like a case of a little change or something, but I think it was weird because like everyone was having the talks at the same time, so you go into the changing room and boys would kind of be like, oh, what would you get there? Would you get offered? And it's kind of like a bit awkward if like other boys are getting offered like maybe like expenses, or some boys are getting good deals and stuff like that. So that's when it started to get a wee bit like, okay, this is kind of serious now. Do you know what I mean? We're going like it's full time, it's a job now, and like you're getting paid for it. Do you know what I mean?
So see how you've mentioned a couple of guys that were in your team, so like Stephen Welsh, Jack Aitchison. I think Ewan Henderson might have been in there at some point as well. Do you know any guys that get let go that are still playing in and about the leagues now?
Yeah, no, there's actually boys who have been let go that are actually playing higher. Like, it doesn't work out always that way for, like, it's never just like an easy road. Like, you just go up and up and up. There's loads of boys that I know that have either been told by Celtic, nah, like, you'll get a contract, or maybe they've been second choice at their team, so they would never ever get a start, and that they obviously wanted to go somewhere else to actually play. And now they've actually took a level down, started playing, and then they're higher than maybe even like boys that are at reserves now at Celtic are not actually playing first team, but these boys who have like dropped down to then are here are maybe playing like Premier League, like in Scotland, or have got good moves and stuff. So they've done it well. Like, I mean, it takes a lot, like your resilience and stuff, to kind of do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, take the step down and take a chance. Right? Okay, I'm going to take away from you, because to leave Celtic is obviously that's where you want to be, but you need to do it sometimes for your career. Do you know what I mean? You need to take a step away and go, right, I'm going to go away, take a step back to go forward, basically. So no, definitely, there's been plenty of boys that, even at that, I know at Rangers as well, that have decided, I'll take a step away for the bigger teams, go for it, and then they've ended up getting X amount of appearances where, like a St Johnstone or another team in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean?
Spot on.
Touched a wee bit on it earlier, just about like tournaments and stuff. What experience have you got from? Did you go and play in the Milk Cup and kind of European games for Celtic and stuff at youth level?
Yeah. No, there was. I think before you go full time is when the tournaments are probably at its best. Once you go full time, it's kind of, you're in a league and stuff now, so you don't really get the chance to really go play, unless it's obviously in that Youth Champions League. You'll play against teams there, but the best tournaments, I went to a tournament in Belgium, and I think every team growing up at Celtic will say that Belgium's one of the best tournaments. That actually felt like a kind of mini Champions League. So like, you'd go. It's weird because you wouldn't stay in a hotel with the team. Two years would go with a family, so it'd be like you'd basically queue up. It was actually weird. You'd all line up, and the families would come up and be like, right, used to with them, and stuff like that. And then you'd go and you'd stay with this family, and they'd give you the food and stuff. And then you just only meet your team whenever you're going to play the games. And in that tournament, it was like Barcelona, PSV, Ajax. This tournament was brilliant. And we played Barcelona in the semi-final. We drew 0-0 and it went to penalties. And at that point, I don't know why, it was like a pure weird tournament format where instead of 5 penalties, it was 3. And we missed every penalty. We saved 2 of them. And Barca won 1-0 in penalties.
Oh, what?
It's the most boring penalty shootout you'll probably ever see. But they won 1-0 in penalties. And then they played PSV in the final. I think they battered PSV like 5-1 or something. So we watched it and we were like, if we obviously beat them, we'd have fancied our chances in the final. I went to another tournament at under 16s in Qatar, and that was like, again, all the big teams were there. That was actually like, that was mental, because if you won man of the match, you got like $1,000 like in a check. It was actually one of our pals, Kerr McInroy, he's still at Celtic now on loan at Dumbarton. We played in a game in a group stage, and I think he scored a late winner or something. So I think it was like MVP or something like that. It was on the match or something, and he won that. So he got his $1,000 from that game. It was mental. And then if you came, like, the prizes, like the higher you finished in the tournament, the better prize you got. I think like if you finished in like the top 4, like every player got an iPad and all that. It was mental. Okay. But it was all like televised and over there, and there was like it was like a huge. It felt like a proper big tournament. I think Rangers actually won it a couple of years ago. Rangers went there. We stopped going, and Rangers went. And I'm sure they won it. But that was one of the biggest tournaments that we stayed in. It was called the Torch in Doha, and like it was this big fancy hotel, and like everything in the hotel was controlled like by an iPad. So like opening the curtains, changing the colour of the room, changing the TV, everything was all through this iPad. It was pure like futuristic, mental. It was.
What about trips away with Scotland as well? Played the kind of Scotland internationals. What have you? Are you 16s, 17s, and 19s? Is that right? Is that what you've?
Yeah. Well, we played at 15s was when it started, but
Right,
that was
okay.
just like friendlies and stuff. So you go away for maybe like a double header against like Switzerland and all these teams. So you'd play. They'd just take 2 11s over. A team would play in the first game. 2 days later, and the other team would play. And then, as you said, once it gets to like 17s is when it's like the Euros and stuff. So we went to, but there's a really hard. It's like loads of qualifiers for that. I think you need to play. So you play a qualifying round like a group, and only the top team goes through. And after that, there's like an elite round, so it's another qualifying group, and only the top team goes through as well there. But our Scotland team at 17s was brilliant. We had a boy, Elliot Watt, who I think he's at
Bradford
now.
Aye,
Yeah.
Bradford now.
Glenn Middleton, Zach Rudden, Jack Aitchison, Welshie, Robbie Dees. We had Stephen Kelly. We had a really, really strong team. And we got to the finals there. And I remember it was actually on Eurosport this game. We were playing France and we only needed a draw. We only needed a draw to get to the quarter-final. And if you qualified to the quarter-final, you'd also be able to go to the World Cup, which was in India.
Right.
And we only needed a draw, and we were drawn 1 each. 91st minute, France scored, and they were all doing a big pile on the corner and that. I've never felt a worse feeling in football. It was horrible because we were thinking, like, if we get a draw here, because I think we beat Faroe Islands and drew Hungary, and we're like, we can do this here. And then obviously stoppage time, you're thinking, right, we just keep it. I think if you obviously went back and played 2 minutes and said, right, don't concede a goal, we would have done it. But they were just like, they were brilliant, to be fair. They were just bombarding us with chances. We'd done so well to keep it as well. And then they scored last minute, and then that was us. We were out. But I think England went on to win that. And England's team, if we thought we were good, England's teams, like, at my age, is Foden, Sancho, all them. So I don't know what the score would have been if we came up against them. But nah, they won it, and then they won the World Cup as well at that year as well. But yeah.
Who's the like playing international? Who's the best player you sort of came up against? Any boys abroad or that?
I didn't play this game, but I was on the bench with a year older Scotland when we played Norway, and it finished 5-3, and Haaland scored a hat trick. That was,
oh man.
We actually needed. I think we needed a draw that game as well just to go to the elite rounds, and we were winning 3-1 or something. And then I remember, I'm telling you, this guy looked same height, same everything at that age, like he was huge, and everyone was like, he looked. You know how he looks so like weird in the face, and everyone's like, nah, look at this guy, looks pure clumsy in that. And then he scored a hat trick, and we were like, what? Like, this guy's mad. But he was. You could tell then he was unreal. I played against a boy. I can't even remember his name, to be fair. I'd have to look it up. But we played Portugal at 19s, and this boy is the fastest guy I've ever played in my life. I remember I didn't really get booked in games that much in that, but I was thinking I need to do something here early to actually like show him right now. Don't try and take me on or something. So I remember he's one of the, and I hate as a fullback when I'm tucked in and stuff, and then but the wingers stay right on the touchline. So if the ball's on the opposite side, I obviously need to be in with the back four, but he's hugging the touchline over there. So if the ball gets switched out, then he's got to run on me, and that's it. And that's the worst thing that I hate. And of course, this guy's blinking right on the touchline. It hasn't moving for there, and I'm away tucked in. And the ball was coming over, and it was like, I thought I'm getting there, but now that I think about it, there's no way I was ever getting there. But then he's just touched it by me, and he's like 5 yards, and I've just cleaned him out and got booked like first 5 minutes or something. And I think you're getting booked against this guy in the first couple of minutes. You obviously need to watch, but no, this guy was outrageous. Like, just so it's different because it shows you the level some of these boys are at international. Just so sharp, and you had to be switched on every single like second of the game because he would just turn you inside out if you weren't. I remember we played Man City before. This was with Celtic though, and that was like Sancho and Foden were both playing there. This was, I think, it was under 15s and 16s, and yeah, they were the same, just mad. To be fair, I played whenever Ben Woodburn, who was at Liverpool, still is. I played against him a tournament before as well. He was the same. All these wingers just all have just the way they move and stuff like that is just crazy, to be honest. It's hard, but no, to be fair, it's good obviously to play against them and to see obviously where they're at now. I mean, they must look at me, this guy's at Dumbarton, but I'm not really. But they were all. You could tell even then, years ago, that they were like, you're not surprised obviously the level that they're at now.
Top players,
Same with Scotland, but did you know play in the Victory Shield against Wales and score? Did you know score?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I actually tried to cross it, but ended up going back post. But that's probably one of the last goals I've actually scored, to be honest. But yeah, I was marking that game actually. A boy, is it Rabbi Matonda? I think his name is.
Yeah,
Schalke, yeah. And he's another one. He was rapid. I think he actually got a transfer to Man City on the back of that Victory Shield. So I mean, I think that shows how he done against me. Clearly turned me inside out. But he was really good. But to be fair, he scored in every game in the Victory Shield apart from the game we played us. So I'm taking a bit of confidence from that.
That's a small win.
Scored against them,
absolutely. So. Where's your move to Man City?
Exactly.
Right, back onto Celtic, mate. So you're signed full time, and then what age is it you start going out and training with the first team? When did that come about?
Well, at 17s we were at Barrowfield, so you would never really be kind of like with the first team. That would be like the 20s would, if they needed body stuff, the 20s would be training with the first team. But actually, there was one time when I was at 17s. It was international break, but Celtic, it was Brendan Rodgers' first season. They still wanted to play games, so it went an international break. But like Sinclair was still there because he wasn't away with England. McGregor wasn't in the Scotland squad at the time. Mr. Dembele wasn't away with France. Saviachenko was there, stuff like that. So we actually played a game at Lennoxtown against St Johnstone. It was just a friendly, just a closed door friendly, and I remember my 17s coach texted me and was like, you're up with the first team tomorrow to play a game. And I was like, they're like, yeah, it's a closed door friendly against St Johnstone. And I was like, oh, geez, oh. So I got the day off school and I was like, I'll just be up there and I'll just be like, whatever, like I'll maybe get 5 minutes or just be for experiencing that. But I played, like it was, so the team was, I think Doris de Vries was in goals, then it was Gamboa, Sviachenko. Who's our centre back that day? I can't actually remember who our centre back was. Me, McGregor, Scott Allen, Sinclair was left. Brian Christie was right, and then I can't remember who. There was one more, but Dembele was up front, and we won 2-1. And I remember they done a penalty. You know the one where you just like pass it and then just tap it in. Dembele and someone else done that. I remember we won 2-1 and I played 60 minutes or something, but that was even though I know it's a closed door friendly and stuff, and it's not actually like, it doesn't count as anything, but to play in a game with them was unreal. And obviously Brendan Rodgers, Chris Davis and all that were all at the side and said I'd done well and stuff, and they were like, there'll be, my coach took me in after that and was like, heard you done well and stuff, there'll be a lot more opportunities, and there was never another opportunity. But no, that was brilliant. To be fair, I enjoyed every minute of that. Even to play on the same pitch as him. I mean, Scott Sinclair was in front of me playing left wing, and just to hear like stuff off them or what he could give you feedback after the game and stuff was unreal.
So did you have many encounters with Rodgers? Like, did you have many at all? So was that like your first involvement with first team, or were you training before that, or was that kind of like your start?
No, that was the first time. I hadn't trained with him, and then I came up because at 17s there's no one that would really be up with the first team. But that was my first time that I'd even been up there. And then once it came to Brendan Rodgers, never really come to any reserve games, at all, really. I think he might have came to one. He watched our Glasgow Cup final actually at 17s. Him and John Kennedy came, but apart from that, he would never really come down to any games or anything. But whenever we went up to 20s, it would be a lot easier to train with the first team because you would be at Lennoxtown, they'd be on the pitches next to you. So if they needed bodies, whether they're doing shape or whether they were needed a spare 11, if they're doing 11v11 to try and kind of get their game plan across what they wanted to do, then if they were short, then boys would come up. So for instance, if Tierney had just played a game and they were on recovery and they were doing a session the next day and they needed a left back, then I would sometimes go up and train with them and stuff. So yeah, I think once I went up to reserves, I started to there was a period of time where every time they played a game and they would start 11 on recovery, I would be one of the ones that would go up and train. So yeah, no, that was really good actually. To hear stuff off his attention to detail and stuff like that was really good. For obviously I was 18 at the time, so to take stuff like that on board was unreal.
What's the standard like of training? Is it top?
Oh, mental. I remember
crazy,
I was I came back from my knee operation, and that was one of the first times I trained with the first team. I came back from my knee operation and my team had a game, so obviously I wasn't allowed to play it. So I think you need to train 3 or 4 weeks before you can actually qualify to play, because to make sure your knee doesn't break down or you're comfortable and stuff.
Yeah.
And the reserves had a game that day, so right, we go train with the first team, and they were doing waves of attack, and Paddy Roberts was right wing, and I'm not match speed yet on that, and then he's just cutting in, just whipping it, calling it every time, cutting in, whipping it, and Doris Fries was like that. Nah, just don't show him inside. And I'm like, you think I'm not trying to show him inside? I'm turning my body as far as I can turn to be you're going down the line, and he'll still just last minute turn it inside and just whip it. But that's when you see the level the boys, even Masonda when he was there in training, although he didn't obviously do as well as everyone thought in the games, but we do small sided games. He used to you get the ball off the keeper and he'd just dribble up 1-2 with someone and score, go back down, get the ball off keeper again and go again. He was mad. He was unreal. Yeah, no, training, the intensity and stuff of training compared to the reserves to first team is night and day. The jump's huge.
Man. What's obviously you mentioned Tierney there kind of earlier on. Did he ever pull you in it and give you wee tips? Obviously playing same position, or did you just keep yourself to yourself?
Not really, to be fair. A lot of times I didn't really train when he was training, obviously because he'd be on recovery. Yeah. But I trained him a few times. It was more, Azagiri was actually really good for that. He would train with the reserves sometimes. If he wasn't, kind of his latter stage at Celtic, he wasn't really in the squad much. So he would train with us and we'd do crossing after training, and he would give you little tips and say that if you're doing well and tell you things to do in that. So he was, I think obviously because he's had a good career as well, so he's a bit older. So he was really good to fit. Even I think Tierney speaks about that as well, how he helped him as well when he was trying to get into the first team. So every time Azagiri was down at training with us, he'd take you aside and he'd say, "Come on, we'll do crossing, just the two of us." And he was a lot of times he'd done that. He was good.
You touched on it earlier on about the Glasgow Cup one against Rangers. Was that probably the highlight of your youth career, would you say? It's up there, at least.
Was that the 3-2 game?
Yeah, the last one, the most recent one, the 3-2 one at Celtic Park, was probably one of the best games I've played in so far. I think the one when I played in when I was under 15s, when I played 2 years up, we won 2-0. I think that was good in the sense I'd played a lot older and done well in a game that was obviously a big game at Hampden and stuff, so I was happy myself for that. But as an actual game, as in how you feel in a game, that game was a roller coaster. I remember we played them a couple of weeks before at Partick Thistle Stadium in the league, and they beat us 2-0. And and then so obviously we played them in the final at Celtic Park a couple of weeks later. We beat them 2-0, but we battered them the first half. We beat them 2-0, and I think Hendo missed a chance at the back post just before half time. A really good chance to tap in, and 3-0 would have killed them at half time. But 2-0, obviously, in any game was still a chance. Glenn Middleton. I don't know if you've seen the goals, but like one of his goals was mental. Just cut inside and whipped it. I think it hit right off the bar and right in the top corner. And at that point, I think Mikey Johnson had been sick at half time because he hadn't played much. And I remember he's been sick and it was like black and stuff. It was mental. I think he was proper like unfit or like he came across something. But he was unreal that game. He scored a free kick as well. Jack Aitchison had came off as well, and I think Karamoko came off as well. So we had all our best players off at the time, and it was obviously went 2 each. I'm thinking, oh no, obviously it's going to. I think it went straight to penalties. I think, and like, oh geez, because they three would have hit the penalties because we'd done it obviously a couple of days before and practiced it. Not they three would have been probably on the first three, and it's like one of the last kick of the ball, and then he's on his right foot, just put it in the top corner, and the scenes after that was I had cramp, but somehow I was able to just leg it about 50 yards to do a pile on and stuff like that, and then everyone celebrations in the changing room was unreal after that, and we all went straight home and just got clothes on and went straight out. That was by far probably one of the best feelings I've had. I think it shows you though, obviously when I spoke about that France game, the heartache you can get from a last minute goal, obviously if you concede it, to then obviously the opposite end of it where you win a final like that in the last minute is brilliant.
But there was a crowd at that game as well, wasn't there? Am I right in saying there was a decent crowd?
Aye, before they used to do it before, but it's like they'd let just however many fans come in, and I think it got a bit out of hand at one point when obviously Rangers were down in the leagues and like League Two and stuff. So that old firm was the only old firm that would really happen. So all the fans would kind of go to that, and there was like flares and fights and stuff at that game. So I think they stopped like opening it just to everyone. So it ended up being like you had to get a ticket from like people who like were actually like playing the game. So we'd get like 5 tickets each, and then they'd give it like school kids and stuff. But that actually was a good turnout that game. And I remember it was like the main stand was actually decent. But nah, that was amazing. I'll still sometimes I'll watch the YouTube videos for that and like kind of like play it back in my head and stuff. That was amazing.
That's class.
What about another involvement in the first team? Did you play in, or you were involved in it in the squad? Was it Scott Brown's testimonial? Is that right? Was that the day after we won the treble?
Aye. I didn't play in it, but yeah, I was involved, and that was. I only found out about that kind of like last minute as well. I remember I got a text to turn up to Celtic Park, for that, and we actually he gave everyone a Hugo Boss watch.
Yeah, a wee gift, didn't you?
Aye, and said of it, it says the date and stuff, and like number 8 and stuff. So I've still got it. It's a brilliant thing to have. Like obviously to know that you've been a part of it and stuff. And that was brilliant. I think they played Republic Island, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good. See, that was my first time like going out, being actually on the pitch when fans are there and stuff, and it was actually like nervous. Like I was worrying about every pass in the warm-up, thinking somebody's going to be watching me in the crowd, just passing the ball about my pals and stuff. I remember I was doing passing with Jack Aitchison, and Cham actually went to get a Powerade. So I was nervous, and obviously they all have seats like, on the bus and everything, like where to sit and like where to sit at dinner and stuff. So I remember being so nervous that day, and I was doing passing with Jack Aitchison on the pitch, and then Cham went to get a Powerade as I've played the pass. So he's ducked down to get a Powerade as I've played the ball, and it smacked him right in the side of the face. And this is one of my first passes, and he just looked like raging. And I'm just like, oh no, I can't believe this couldn't be going any worse. He just looked at me as if like, I can't believe you've just done that. And I couldn't have been any more apologetic. But every other pass after that was just straight on the deck, just a wee side foot. That I was staying out of everyone's way.
Another memorable occasion, you could say. Were you a part of the trophy day? I don't know what one in a row it would have been. I think, Bailey, you said it might have been 7 or 8.
Was it 8, maybe?
Daniel. Yeah, 8, yeah.
8, was it, yeah?
When we played Hearts, yeah. On trophy day, I was on the bench, and that was unreal. That day was mental to be a part of. everything. Obviously, they knew obviously we were getting the trophy and stuff that day, but we were parading the Glasgow Cup as well. And after it, so I remember I thought I'd just be in the squad, like I thought I'd just be in the stands or something, but we find out like in the PowerPoint before the game, obviously the who's on the bench and who's starting and stuff. And I was on the bench and I was like, and I remember actually before it when I was on the way to we were on the bus to the Dakota to get food, and there's sometimes all these leaked lineups where it's like the Celtic lineup, but it's like just like, you know, you've probably seen before old films and stuff where there's all these, I think this is starting lineup, and people always send to me and it's like me starting in that. Like, I'm getting into the pre-match meal and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? I'm going to go and get a shock here. I'm like, no way. And then I seen it and I was like on the bench and I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. So I was like, I'm not ready to be starting here, man, no way. And then, but no, that experience was amazing. Like, just even like being on the pitch when you're just doing the warm-up, the passing, whatever, and all the fans in, and obviously it's a brilliant atmosphere because they know they're getting the trophy, so everyone's buzzing and stuff. And then they won, so obviously got the win bonus as well, which was brilliant. Just leading up to summer. But no, that was I wasn't. I remember we all went in for because we went in and me and Welshie and Hendo and stuff joined our team because we were parading the Glasgow Cup, and we went round and then we went back into the changing room and thought like that we'll just get changed, that'll be us done. But someone was like, no, hurry up, get your top on and that, like yous are going out. And we were like, whoa. So like, we were going out with like the first team, like parading round, and then we went round with them, and then they were getting the medals and stuff on the podium, and me and Welshie were like, right, we'll just hang about at the back here, no one's gonna have a clue like who we are here. So we were just kind of like hanging back, letting everyone like, you can go. And then they were like, no, like, yous are on. So then they read out our names on the podium and stuff. We went up, got a medal and that. And we're like, this is crazy. I've still got it hanging in my room, I think, next to my top from when I signed. But nah, that was unreal. And then obviously in the changing room with all the celebrations and the cameras and just seeing the way they obviously celebrate and feeling as if you're a small part of it was mental.
Probably, mate. I'm sure I was there that day. Did they batter hats that day? Nah, am I?
No, it was Karamoko's debut. They won 2-1. Mikey Johnson scored 2.
I'm thinking
and I was itching for them to score, obviously, so I could hopefully get the win bonus as well. Mikey scored late on to make it 2-1. But no, that was Karamoko's debut, and everyone was raving about him after that day. He was brilliant when he came on.
He'd have been 16, wasn't he? He was
16.
Yeah, that's mad. What happened? Like, so that night after you won the league, did you go out of that, or what did you?
Nah, they did. I think they had something organised. I think they all went to the Radisson Red actually, but I think I probably just went home for a pizza or something. Seeing my family with the win bonus.
Brilliant. Next wee bit, mate. Just loaned out to East Fife. Was that the next season? Was that the following year?
Yeah, that was the next summer. Yeah.
What was that like? The coldest stadium in fucking Britain, innit?
Do you know what, actually the Windy Stadium when we played Rangers in the cup, the weirdest thing I've ever seen in football was the keeper went to take a by kick and it spun back out for a corner for Rangers because that's how windy it was. I'd never ever seen. In fact, the second weirdest thing, because the weirdest thing I've ever seen was Josh Ray once went to play a by kick and put that out for a corner because he's put the ball on the right hand side of the 6-yard box and went to play it to me with his outside his foot and curled it out for a corner to the other team. So it's the second weirdest thing I've ever seen. But East Fife, not as much as I kind of didn't really enjoy the time. It was good for going forward. The fact that I learned a lot because I was used to like academy football. Obviously, growing up at Celtic, playing through the lines, playing. Like I play as a fullback, but at Celtic it's basically winger half the time. We had most of the ball every game, so I'm pushing up and the winger's coming inside. I'm basically playing, and it's just overlaps, crosses, this and that. Whereas League One, which I learnt very quickly, is really direct and it's not as much football played into midfield, into this and that. They're just it's a lot more direct and they'll go up to the strikers, live off second balls, and it's a lot more as long as we get the 3 points, that's it. Nothing else
it.
matters. So I was going into these games, obviously, so I'd play on the Saturday, sometimes with Fife, but then I'd be playing with Celtic reserves, maybe like midweek. So I'd go for the mentality of Celtic, like keep the ball, do this, do that, into the midfield and that. But when you'd go to do that with Fife sometimes, and there'd be like, as if like, whoa, how come you're trying that? Like, that's not the way we play and stuff. So I'd kind of, like, you'd get the fans on your back sometimes because you'd go to fight it in midfield, and maybe a misplaced pass and that, and they're like pure on you because you're like, nah.
Yeah.
So then you have to learn like to adapt and play the way that they play. So then it's like, I think obviously when I realised that more when I went to Dumbarton, it's like, because I'd been in that situation, so that's why I liked that I went there, because I learnt from that to then obviously go on. So like that's my first taste of first team football, men's football, different environment for obviously growing up throughout the years at Celtic. So being obviously in there with men who they've got a job during the day, and then obviously they're coming to do their training at night or a game and stuff, and they're obviously a lot more experienced than what you are. So I definitely took a lot from it, although I didn't play as much as I'd want to, because they were flying whenever I came. Actually, I think they were top of the league, winning every week, and the gaffer was just saying, look, can't change a winning team. Like, if the team's winning, there's nothing you can do. You just need to wait off. And then I eventually got in, and we played. My second start was actually away at Wraith in the derby, and obviously East Fife Wraith's a derby.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. East Fife brought quite a few fans that game, and Wraith obviously sold out their bit. And I remember thinking in like the first 5 minutes of the game, so East Fife had a drum and stuff. They maybe had like, I don't know, 500 fans or something, but they're all singing in that. And I couldn't hear boys in the pitch shouting. I was thinking to myself, what actually must an Old Firm be like? There's about 3,000 here, and I can't actually hear things. I'm thinking, imagine actually being like 60,000 fans
60,
at a game or something, you can't actually, nobody will hear anything. I was thinking, how did he cope? But it was obviously good to play, and that was probably at that point the biggest game that I'd played in, like fans wise, and like in a proper league, proper game. So it was good. I played against Rafe a few times, and they're doing well now. So it was good to play against in games like that. It was good to kind of felt as if you took the first step in your professional career, and it's like it's real games that are actually recorded as an appearance. Do you know what I mean? Do you know, it was good.
After East Fife, mate, what was next for you after that? What happened with you after East Fife?
After East Fife, it was like only until Christmas, and then I decided, right, it's not been the best 6 months, but I need to bounce back. So I decided that I'll leave East. I was originally going to be there for the season, but I decided this isn't going the way like I'd want it to go. I kind of need, my confidence probably wasn't there. So I was getting into games like, am I playing, am I not? And then I'd maybe, because I wasn't used to the football, and I wasn't really adapting well enough to the style of football they were playing and stuff, it was so different. So I was like, right, I'll take myself back to Celtic, get going there again, and then look towards next season. And then in actual fact, it worked out well for my season then, because when I came back to Celtic, I went through the next maybe 6 games, played Hibs in the semi-final of the Cup, played Aberdeen, played Queen's Park, and I think in most of the games I either set up a goal or I was involved in a goal, so I got my confidence back pretty quick and bounced back from it, and I was happy with like the way I was playing again, back into like kind of, it was hard because see the routine, so you'd obviously have a game with East Fife on the Saturday, you'd be off the Sunday, and back in the Monday, game with Celtic on the Tuesday, off recovery Wednesday, train with East Fife Thursday. You wouldn't do much on the Friday because in case you start for East Fife on the Saturday, so you wouldn't actually have like a regular routine of training, like high intensity, getting fitness in. It would just be a case of can't do it on the Friday because you might play on the Saturday, and then if you don't play on the Saturday, you're off the Sunday. Won't do much on a Monday because obviously you've got a game with Celtic on the Tuesday. So the weeks were all so like disjointed. It wasn't really like a structure or anything. It was just a case of, it was all jumbled up. Whereas when I went back to Celtic again, it was like, right, I have a structure again. I know that I've got the game on the Tuesday. I can do my fitness stuff like throughout the week to build into that game, and that's the only game I've got that week. So it just felt as if I was in a much better routine. I was happy with the way everything going. I was playing well. So but I bounced back well from that. I was happy with kind of the way that I got going again.
Magic, mate, magic. What So how long, when you finished at East Fife and went back to Celtic, how long did you have left on your deal? What was that, a year or was it longer?
Yeah. So I had till the end of that season, and then obviously that was when COVID happened at,
Right,
at the summer of that hunt. But I had this year as well, so my contract would be up, like kind of towards now. But
Right, okay.
I basically asked them if I could get paid off because I took that experience at East Fife and said I don't want to go back and play reserves again because I'd played reserves for a couple of years already. So I wanted to like be actual in a first team now where I'm going to get appearances, I'm going to start playing and actually try and work my way up that way. Like what I mentioned earlier, like it's not always just Celtic and you go up and up. It's like I wanted to try and take myself out. I was willing to get paid off and take whatever it is to then go and try and join a first team and work my way up from that way.
Brilliant. So how did Dumbarton come about? What was it initially you signed until Christmas, I think, or just after Christmas or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so before that, whenever the initial plan was, whenever I left Celtic, I went in to train with Dundee, and
Right.
and so I spent 2 months there. I done pre-season with them. Came back like really fit, felt good, and we played a friendly against Cove. We played Peterhead first in a friendly, and I done well. And the manager was saying like, look, we like what we see and stuff. Like we'll see kind of how he goes and stuff.
Sorry.
Still McPake at the same
Was it James
time.
McPake, was it?
Yeah, and then we played Cove in a friendly away, 1-0. And I remember I was close to like maybe signing and stuff. So I was like, right, just not mess up the night. Like I'll try and do all right, and then obviously we'll see what happens. We won 1-0, set up the goal. So I remember driving home thinking like, this is it. Like I've done my bit. Like I've earned the contract here. Like I've earned my place and stuff. And then I was meant to sign. I think the Betfred Cup games was starting after that. So like you had to be registered to actually play. You couldn't just be as a trialist anymore. Yeah. So I was meant to sign, and then basically they just said like we're not. The owner doesn't want to give any money. Basically, we don't want to we can't pay and stuff. So then I was like, right, okay, that's fine. So I went in to train with Queen's Park for a couple of days. I played a game with them against St John's Reserves. I actually came on left wing, surprisingly. Done all right there, and then they were talking about maybe going there. But then at that point, Dundee were like, no, come back. Like we'll get this done and stuff. So then I went back to Dundee, and then the same thing happened. Like, nah, we can't get it going and stuff. But in the meantime, like I had interest from like other teams, like in the Championship in Scotland. Right. But I'd said I was just convinced, right, Dundee's happening here. So I was like, nah, like I'm sorry, but like I think I'm maybe going there. And then obviously Dundee didn't happen, and all the opportunities had kind of gone. And then it's obviously time was going on. Every team's got their 11, their team, their squad sorted. So it was it was frustrating, but I just took it as it comes. And then there was maybe opportunities to go train with teams in England to see how I could go there. But obviously COVID was like really strong at that time, so you couldn't even go travel to train with teams because no team were like accepting staff, not people that weren't staff. So you weren't even allowed to go train. So then I remember my agent phoned me and said, "Oh, Jim Duffy's saying like you could go train with them. There might be an opportunity there, just till Christmas to get games and stuff. So like go train the Thursday night and like see what you think and stuff." So I went and trained with them, and he had a chat with me before training and said, "Look, we're playing Kilmarnock. It was the game before Kilmarnock in the Cup at the weekend. And they said on the Thursday night, look, we're playing Kilmarnock on the Saturday. If you want to sign here, then I'm happy to start you on Saturday. You'll play straight away and stuff like that." So I took massive confidence. I mean, any player just wants to feel like obviously you're appreciated and the manager has confidence in you and like rates you highly. So he said a lot of good things. He spoke to me about kind of the way that he wants to play and like everything that he thinks it would be good for me and stuff like that. Said, look, if you're here, like you'll definitely play. I'll give you a chance to show what you can do and stuff like that. And if any teams want you to go in and train, maybe like Monday, Friday or something like that, then go train them as long as you're right for me on a Saturday. So I thought that's brilliant too. That's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah,
so and I couldn't go any longer without being part of a team. Like I was in the gym on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, whereas I wanted to be on the pitch. You know what I mean? I was looking at the scores and all my pals are playing or they're involved in stuff, and I'm like, I can't go any more of this. Just looking at all the scores and you're not actually involved. So, right away, I went for a COVID test the next day and had to make sure that was fine. And that as long as so that I could qualify to play for the Kilmarnock game, signed and then went straight in and then played the games up until obviously the league got stopped again by COVID and stuff. Yeah.
What so like obviously when you're on loan at East Fife, you still trained with Celtic. So how's that different now? So obviously at a part-time club, what's your week like? What do you just do your own stuff? Is that how you kind of keep yourself busy?
Yeah, I tried to basically replicate a full-time environment myself. So like on a Monday I would go and do like I'd go to like a local pitch and do like running. I'd go with Josh Ray because he's kind of in the same situation with Peterhead there part-time as well. So we'd go and any goalie stuff he'd want to do, I'd do that, or we'd do like passing, running, sprints and stuff. Just try and we actually probably ended up working out that I would do more than what I'd probably do it full time, like because I was doing a lot. I'd go to the gym as well. So and then obviously Tuesday, Thursdays I'd have my training. So I'd maybe just do like gym work on a Tuesday, gym work on a Thursday, Monday, Wednesday I'd be running, give myself Friday off because obviously if the game is Saturday.
Yeah.
So I actually got into a good routine of okay, I'm not quite full time, but I can still kind of act as if I am and train as much as like I kind of would at the same time. So I'd still go out to do running and stuff at like 10:30, 11 the same way as if I would train kind of as I was in full time and stuff. So now just as much as I can try to. It's harder when you're only in the 2-hour sessions Tuesday, Thursday because like the manager can't really work on like tactics and stuff because you only get 4 hours a week training, so you can't waste it by working on the back four, working on certain things. So you just need to fit in as much as you can, and then as it obviously when it comes a Saturday, picks a team and then you go for it.
Definitely.
You mentioned it to us just before you came on here that obviously with the training that you've been doing yourself, you managed to pick up a wee injury. What's your feelings toward that now? How are you?
It's frustrating because it's hard as well. I mean, whenever you get injured at Celtic, you're used to working one-to-one with physio every day. Monday to Friday, you're in hands-on in the gym, and then you go out and do rehab and stuff. Whereas you're seeing a physio Tuesday, Thursday here, so it's a bit more difficult because you feel as if everything's going at like a quicker pace, and like it's maybe you don't want to obviously rush it, but you obviously keep in contact with the physio, texting her like every day you're not in how it feels and trying to get like do this, do that, or go to the gym to do like strengthening and stuff. But yeah, it's been quite a frustrating time because I got the injury just before our league started back. Probably couldn't have came at a worse time, to be honest. Like our season started back like a week after I actually got the injury. But initially I thought it would only be a couple of weeks. And so, but things were I was a bit unsure like what it actually was. So I decided like I'll go for a scan and I'll know exactly what it is. Got that and then went through the rehab with a physio. And then it got to the point where in the time scale wise, I should be back, but I was still feeling stuff. But the stuff I was feeling wasn't actually what showed up in the scan. So we ended up deciding like go for another scan and see what it is, see if there's anything still there. And the scan showed up other stuff now. So I tried to push it for a bit to try, because I mean the boys are playing. There was a good 3-4 weeks where they were playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday like games. And I'm going to watch every game just thinking like all I want to do is I just want to be out there playing, do you know what I mean? But you can't risk injuries, you can't rush them like that. You just need to, it's one of the things you just need to let it heal. But yeah, it has been a tough time, but I'm hoping that I think I'll miss the end of this season, but I'm hoping that I can get myself ready for obviously whatever opportunities come the summer.
Magic, mate, magic. Last wee bit, mate. They'll not keep you much longer. There's a wee left back that I coach that comes in for sessions and stuff, and he sent me a couple of questions over to ask yourself. I didn't actually send them to you yesterday, so I want to catch you off guard here. He said, "Is there any tips or anything you've learned on like making the right decision on kind of when to go and win the ball or when to sort of jockey a man and sit off him, and anything that you anything you picked up on how to deal with sort of a quick winger that's maybe got quick feet or can knock the ball by you, and just like do you for pace that way, and you can help him with.
I think one of the biggest things I learned, I actually learned after my first game with Dumbarton when we played Kilmarnock. I noticed, and I was playing against a boy, I think his name's Mackenzie, a winger for Kilmarnock, quite quick, really good in the ball and stuff. And I remember I felt a bit off pace because I hadn't played a game in a while and stuff, but he seemed to just always have a yard on me, always get crosses in, and I was never able to stop it. And it was actually Jim Duffy pulled me over the next day in training, was like, body position is probably one of the biggest things that you'll realise that it will help you in 1v1 situations. If you've got your body in the right position, you can actually affect the winger running at you. So wingers might be quick, they might be quicker than you and stuff, but as long as you put your body in the right position, then you'll be able to stop them. So he said, if someone's running at you and they're right-footed, obviously I'm playing left-back, and they're right-footed and they want to go down the outside, just take a yard to the left so that you're further, obviously, back than them. So if they want to go down the line, you're still a yard ahead and you're still following. So when they do go to put that cross in, then obviously you're in the position to put a leg out. And I remember we played Peterhead the week after, and I was playing against a boy, Lyle Cameron, his name is. He's on loan from Dundee, and I knew him from training at Dundee that he was pretty quick and stuff as well. And he as well, 1v1, same situation as I was talking about earlier on. I was tucked in, the ball got switched over, and he was running at me. And instantly in my head was what obviously the gaffer said during the week: take a step to the left. So I was like, I'm doing this. And I took a step to the left as he was running at me, and same thing happened. He touched it to the right, went put a cross in, blocked it. And I remember running back into the box, and I was thinking, geez, that was like, it's a simple thing, obviously, but like it is effective. Like it's the little things that will give you the extra little yard in a game that will help you. As a fullback, you will see it as well in every game now. Fitness is a big part of it. Like the modern day fullback now does get up and down constantly. They're not just maybe like before where you'll get to the halfway line, it'll just be like whatever, like that's it, you'll just defensive. It's more, you need to have that attacking side as well. You need to get up and down, overlaps, kind of be like a winger type when you're going forward, but obviously still be able to defend as well whenever you're at the back. So there is a lot to a fullback now. Need to be good on the ball as well. So I've noticed that fitness is a big thing for me, to be able to get up and down and help the winger. But also, I mean, most wingers nowadays are pretty quick, so you do need that first kind of 5 yards that if he touches it and is away, that you can able to match it, or as I said, get your body in a position where you can put him off or kind of get in his face. Do you know what I mean?
Excellent.
I thought the tip would be just what you done against that boy at Portugal, just one touch by you and clean it.
Well, if all comes to worst, then you can do that.
Take the booking.
All right, last two, mate. And again, I didn't send you these. I wanted to kind of catch you off guard. So what me and Ben are wanting to do with each guest we get on is our last 2 questions, just to get you thinking a wee bit. We want to give you a drop, bench, start type question. So we're going to give you 3 players who all play in your position. But one of them's retired, one of them is current, but is probably coming towards the end of his career, and then one of them's current and is a wee bit younger. And you've got to tell us who you would start, who you would bench, and who you would drop. All right. So we're going to go Jordi Alba, Ashley Cole, and Kieran Tierney.
Oof.
Put you on the spot.
I'm just gonna put my arm out and say that I never picked Ashley Cole as anything to do with this, right? So I'll just let Bailey take the heat for that one.
I've killed you here, haven't
I think the way this season's went, I think at the start of this season I'd probably said differently, but I would say I would start Tierney personally. I think he's got everything that to play in any team that you'd want. Like you'll notice it, and he always seems to do it. And I remember a specific goal he set up for Edward against Rangers as well. against Candace, I think it was, where he does his thing where he'll run up towards the winger and then he's got that 5 yards I said where he'll just touch to the side and he's just away. He can get his early crossing, but also obviously defending wise he'll be able to match anyone because he's rapid as well. I think the way he's done this season, I think even when you see the Scotland games and you see what boys are saying, they think that Tierney's better left back than Robertson. Personally, I would say the same. The way this season's went, I think he showed that. I think he showed that he's better. Although in a Scotland team wise, I think he obviously needs to play there because I don't think you could swap them and play Robertson in one. I think Tierney's probably more comfortable there as he's obviously played there with Arsenal as well. So no, I'd put Tierney first. On the bench, I think actually on the bench I would go for Asako. I think genuinely. I know Ben's not happy with this, but I think I genuinely would. And what I back it up is if you actually watch most of the players that have like played against him and stuff, they all speak about how hard he genuinely is to play against, and that he kind of goes under the radar. That he was such a tough opponent, and he as well. Obviously, fullbacks weren't kind of the way fullbacks are now, probably when he was playing. But as a defender, I think he would definitely match anyone. I think he was solid, and if you watch the video clips of him on like YouTube and stuff, and like his compilation videos, you realise how much it's like it is a simple job. It's nothing that actually sticks out in a game where you'd be like, oh, that was brilliant and stuff. But he does his job really well. And then obviously Jordi Alba gets dropped. Although not that he's a good a player to be dropped. He's obviously a top player, but compared to them two, I would
no pleased about that one, mate. Really no pleased about that one. But it's all right. We'll move on to the next thing, yeah.
Oh man, right, last one, mate. We're just going to ask you your dream five-a-side team, but the one condition is that you must select yourself.
And that you must leave me and him with it. I know that we're probably cones into, but we'll stay with it as well.
I would go in goals. Jeez, I don't even ever concentrate on goalies. I know this is probably the toughest one.
I might be getting a shot in goals here, by the way.
I think in goals I'd go Ederson. Purely for the fact the way he is at his feet. I mean, a five-a-side team, you need to use your goalie sometimes. So I feel like, he could kind of wouldn't just be an out-and-out keeper. I'd be able to use him as well. Ederson.
Now, this is where you've got to think defenders-wise. Like, are you going to play one at the back and just let your team outscore teams, or are you going to be like a two at the back? Nah.
I'm all about a gamble. I'm one at the back.
Good man.
100%.
Good man. You're at the back yourself. I like
so
it.
Ederson,
I'm not putting myself at the back. No way. I'm putting myself wide left. No chance. I don't trust myself at the back myself. No way. Can't cope with that. I'll stick with my man Tierney at the back. That's where I'll go. Because he can get forward as well. I'll go him. I'll go me left. I'll go right. Ronaldinho.
Yep.
I feel like for a fives player, I think there wouldn't be anyone better, to be honest.
No,
I'd go Ronaldinho. Not. Striker. I know exactly how I want striker, but if we're talking about fives, I would. In fact, I need to go for. I'd go Ronaldo, 100%.
Sorted, mate.
Ronaldo.
Ben's fuming, isn't he?
There's just one guy that's been left out, and I can't understand it, but it doesn't matter because you're the guest, and the guest always.
Who is it?
Messi.
I know you're going to say Messi there.
but to be fair, Ronaldinho's in there, but Messi and Ronaldo, it's always a toss-up between the two, isn't it?
I think if you're going for if you want somebody to win you a game, I'm saying you're picking Ronaldo, a goal scorer, 100%. But obviously, I mean, it's always going to be the debate forever that everyone's just going to have their preference of the both of them are a joke. So it's just going to keep on going on.
I agree with you on that. As much as I don't really like to, I agree with the fact that if you need a goal and you need an absolute match winner, that he's the guy. So I agree with you on that.
Sorted, mate. That's us. I've really enjoyed that. By the way, that was brilliant.
Yeah, it was good.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. That was a pleasure.
No worries.
Enjoyed listening to it. That is us. Thank you for listening as well. And we'll see you next episode. Cheers, Daniel.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.